Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about my third year of uni so far. If you are new here, hi, my name's Amber and I go to the University of Greenwich and I study events management. And I am in my third year. I did my first and second year, then I took a year out to do a year in industry or like a placement, and now I'm in my third year. So as always, I have made a list here on my phone just of things I want to kind of talk about, just because otherwise this video could be very, very long and we needed some structure. But I'm basically just going to be talking about my courses and my assignments and basically just how I'm finding it so far. If you don't know, I've done quite a few videos on events management like throughout my channel, like over my 3 years, just on like events management in general, and then like first, second, my internship, and now my third year. So if you want to see any of those videos, I will link them down below, but just to give you a bit of background, I have been like doing this throughout, so I just thought it'd be nice to kind of touch upon it now that I've finished my first term of third year and I'm going into my second. Like, I've only got 4 months left. So I think I'm in a pretty good place to kind of give my opinion on it so far, but I will of course give you an absolute like finished overview once I've finished my uni. So in terms of my courses this year, I've had 4 different courses, and I'm going to talk through each one just a little bit, just to give you a bit of background just on that specific course within the topic of events management. So the first one was an option, which was venue management. The other options were like, I really can't remember them. I think there was a marketing one and a PR one, just like some different things that you could choose your preference, which mine was venue management just because that's what I'd been doing in my internship. So I thought there would be some overlap there and it might give me a better chance at getting a better grade, and I had already shown an interest throughout my internship, so it just made sense to carry that on. And basically it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's just about the event planning from the venue side of it. So if you were to work in the venue or manage the venue, and those events were coming to you, how you would go about sourcing those events and contracting them and then producing them. So it just takes you from like the contracting stage right through to the production and like close down of the event, which is really good and is something I experienced in my internship. In terms of like how the course is being like put across and whether it's interesting or not, I personally find it interesting, but at the same time, because I have already done it, some of the stuff is like, I already knew that. But obviously other people may have not had the same experience that I had in my internship, so it only makes sense for them to touch on all bases. But just for that reason, it's not as interesting as it could be, just because some of the stuff, like some of the content, I already know, but can't really be avoided. But other than that, I am really enjoying it. It is a very like wordy and statistic heavy course, so you have to be switched on, that's all I will say. It does feel like quite a long lecture just because there's so much to cover, but I know it'll be so useful moving forward, especially if I do end up working for a venue. We then have 2 courses which are like compulsory, one of which is contemporary events management, which is my favourite course. I love it so much. Basically all it is just like the modern day, like, what's the word, like factors or influences that could affect your events. So like technology, sustainability, Brexit, like all of those modern day things that could have an impact on your event or you need to include at your event and things like that. So kind of like the introduction of like e-tickets or like fraud from e-tickets, or now that there's like a new generation entering the workplace, how that's going to affect, you know, the events and how you market them, those kind of things. So it's very relevant, it's very interesting, because obviously not a lot of people have maybe looked at those areas, or if they have, it's happening in like current day life, so it's going to have a real impact on your career moving forward. I guess you'll really see those factors and influences when you are producing events. So that's really, really interesting and I'm really enjoying it. It's very creative in the sense, like, I don't know, the class just has a lot of impact, I guess, on the way the University of Greenwich is teaching it, and I really like that course. And then the second one is policy and event policy and regulations, or event regulations and policy, one of the ways, whichever way around. Which is not my favourite, just because anything like legal and like political, like policy, regulations, laws, I find personally a bit dull, so it is quite a hard course to swallow for me at least, and it's not the one I find the most interesting. But I have learned some cool things, and it just basically ranges from like your attendees, so like inclusivity of like disabled people and different races, as well as like workplace guidelines and things like that. So it's quite broad, it's not super specific to events, but I'm sure it's something everyone needs to know. But it's just, yeah, it's quite a lot, and because I don't have a real like interest in it, I do find it harder to learn about and to like motivate myself to like read around the topic and things like that. But again, I think it will be useful moving forward, maybe. I don't think I really used much policy and regulation things during my internship, but that may have just been because I was an intern. So as I move up to like a higher paid job or like a higher tier job, like more superior, whatever you want to call it, then maybe it will come into play. I just burped, that was gross. My last module or course, which I use the term loosely, is my dissertation. Now the only reason why I wouldn't call this like a course or like a module is just or it is a module but maybe not a course, is just because there's not like lectures for it really. It's very like self-motivated, like you have to do it yourself. I'm gonna sneeze. We did have a couple of like refresher lectures to start with, maybe like 5 I think across the first 5 weeks, just to kind of put you back in the mindset of writing your dissertation, because obviously we'd had a long time off for summer. But yeah, otherwise it's completely up to you and your dissertation tutor. Mine is really super lovely, which I'm really lucky. So writing my dissertation is a bit easier, and I'm really interested in my dissertation topic. I did a whole video on my dissertation, so you can check that out if you're interested. But yeah, that is another module that we will also get graded for at the end. So yeah, those are the few things that kind of take up my time. And in terms of my timetable, I just thought I'd break it down for anyone who was hoping to do events management and was kind of wondering what a third year timetable would look like. Basically I only go in Tuesday and Friday, and I have 7 hours of lecture, which is not a lot. So I go in from 12 until 5 on Tuesday, and I have like a couple of hour gaps in between that, so I think I have like 3 or 4 hours of actual like lectures and tutorials on the Tuesday, and then on Friday I'm in 12 till 3, and again there's an hour gap, so I only have 2 hours of lectures. Is that right? I think that's right. I don't know if that adds to 7, I can't really do maths, but Tuesday is basically my bigger day, and then Friday I have 2 lectures, which is pretty easy, and then I just have Monday, Wednesday and Thursday off completely to do whatever I like. So just in terms of my schedule, if you want to know like self-study what it kind of looks like, for every hour of lecture or tutorial you do in uni, you're supposed to do 3 outside of uni. Now I don't know how much I'm doing per week. I don't really like note it down anywhere, so I don't have like an exact number of how many hours I study a week, but I do study on Monday and Thursday. Wednesday I take off to do like not uni stuff, that's what we're talking about, to do YouTube stuff all of Wednesday, but Monday I'll usually go into the library for like 4 hours maybe, and then Thursday is about 3 or 4 hours again. So I guess it's only 8 hours, but then in the hours that I have off on Tuesday and Friday in between lectures, I will do study then, and sometimes I'll go in early or later, stay in later, whichever. And obviously it does depend, like if I have an essay due next week, I'll be spending a hell of a lot more hours in the library than 8, but that's just a kind of like idea of what my week tends to look like. So then in terms of assignments, the assignments have been pretty well spread out this term I think, or this year. Maybe that's just me and my time management, I don't really know. There are a few that overlap, like some are quite close together, but I haven't found it a real struggle to like get stuff done, but I think that's just because I know it needs to get done, so I do it. But I usually have either 1 to like 3, I think 3 is the max, 1 to 3 assignments for each course. So like your dissertation obviously only has 1 assignment, your dissertation, whereas like contemporary events management has 3, so they do vary, and obviously the percentages of those are like different to make up the whole course. But like I said, I think I have 5 courses. I forgot a course. It's because it's not really a course, but I have another thing that I'm graded on, so I guess it fits into this segment of the video. But I also do, because I basically did a year in industry or a placement with my university, that is treated as like a separate module, so I'll get graded for that. There's no lectures, I don't have to do any work like a second term, it was just a presentation and an essay that I had to do in first term for that, but there were no lectures. So it is a module, but it wasn't really like a course that I was taking because I had already done it throughout the year. But yeah, that's another thing that I get marked on. So there's 5 modules that I'm completing or like get graded for, and I'm marked on the top 3 of those, which is very confusing, but it basically means I have 2 chances to like mess up a little bit or not get as good a grade, and then I have those 3 highest scores that will be what I'm graded on, and that makes up for 80% of my final degree, which is quite a lot. There's a lot relying on this year, and I don't have much room to mess up, so I want to get a good grade, so I'm trying as hard as I can, but that's basically how this year is made up. I don't know if it will differ for like different years, but at the moment 2020, that's how it's working out. 20% second year, 80% third year, and first year doesn't count for anything. Yeah, and then in terms of those 1 to 3 assignments for each course, they do vary. So like I said, I had a presentation, but I'll also have group presentations. I've done 2 so far, and I think that may be all of the presentations I'm doing this year. And then I have a lot of like written essays, so they'll vary from like 2,500 words to 4,000 words. Which is like kind of manageable. I always find like if they're giving you a 4,000 word essay, it's because usually there's enough to write about, so it shouldn't be too much of a struggle. The one I actually found hard was like the 2,500 word, just because I'd gotten used to writing so much. So that was really hard to like narrow down, but we did it, it was fine. And then of course I have my 10,000 word dissertation, which is like the big boy, but I've still got 4 months to finish that, so we're not going to worry about that right now. But yeah, I know I've just kind of whizzed through that, but that is how this year is structured for me so far. Term 1 has been pretty good, I would say. Very stressful, like there has been a lot to do, and because I've put this pressure on myself to like get a good grade, I feel like I'm feeling that stress a bit more than maybe other people would. But I'm lucky enough to have a part-time job whilst I'm doing university, so I can focus like my week purely on doing uni work and YouTube obviously, but that's just my hobby. But yeah, I can focus on uni stuff, which really helps with like the work and social and uni life balance for me. So I don't feel like overwhelmed by the amount of work, but it's definitely significant. There is no messing around in third year, just because I feel like they're asking for a lot more from you. Like second year, you would kind of get away with like in essays and presentations like being a bit descriptive and just like writing about what other people had said, but in third year you really have to start thinking like critically and introducing your own opinion. I mean, that could be a whole video by itself, because it was a lot to get my head around, and I'm still trying to get my head around it just because it's not a way of writing that I'm used to. But yeah, that was a new challenge for me that I've definitely faced in term 1, and will hopefully make improvements on in term 2, just so that I can definitely hit those higher grades, because you're wanting to get like those top marks obviously, and that's definitely the way to do it. So that was a real challenge for me in term 1, and just something that was new and had to learn. But obviously university is all about pushing you further and like developing your way of thinking, which is like the main thing they want you to do in uni, so I feel like we were on the right track for that. But yeah, it was definitely present in the third year term 1 that was what they were looking for. I also think the stress might not just come from like the workload, which has been like kind of manageable. I know like other students in my year have felt the same, like it's a bit intense, but we've all kind of like rallied together and got through it. But I think that the extra pressure from like how much this year is worth in terms of like our overall degree also adds to like that stress level, I guess, because we all want to do really well. So whereas before we might have been like, it's okay, this year we want to be like, oh my god, it's great, I'm going to submit it, I'm really proud of it, which is very hard to do, but it's something we're all working towards. So yeah, third year term 1 has been quite tricky, not gonna lie, but I feel ready for term 2. Like I'm ready to get this done. I've like been at uni for like technically 4 years now, kind of. I took a year out, but like this would be my 4th year of like being a student at the University of Greenwich. So I'm kind of ready for it to be done, especially because some of my friends didn't do an internship, so they've already graduated and are in like proper perker jobs. And as much as I love university and like love uni life and like student life, I am ready to like start making some money and just finish these last 4 months and try and get the best grade I can. So yeah, that is kind of my overview of term 1 of third year doing events management so far. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe down below. And if you think I've missed anything, if you're a third year student of another course, or perhaps you're doing events management too, and you think there's another like key fact or a bit of knowledge that you think would be really useful to share, please leave those down below. I post videos twice a week, and there will be some more videos coming up about London universities and events management and the University of Greenwich like specifically. So if you are interested in any of that, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you very soon.